Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. You're seeing him right there, the prince of Twitter, the regent of redstate.com, the master of Diet Coke.
That's right. Well, I don't know. The president has a Diet Coke button on his desk.
That's true. Maybe you're the vice president. You're the vice president of Diet Coke.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah, vice president. Yeah.
Yep.
I certainly help their sales.
Well, I actually have this. It's HEB, which is like the grocery store down here. Their name brand stuff is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And so yeah, I have this love affair going with its carbonated flavored beverages. So it's all I ever drink these days.
What's your favorite?
The cherry, although this is strawberry. I like strawberry too. Mandarin orange is great. They have a tropical one that's really good. Their peach one is really good too. But yeah, it's all good.
Are you getting paid for this promo?
I am actually not getting paid for this promo, although they did reduce the price this week on this. So
hurry down to your HEB.
Brought to you by HEB.
I wonder what that stands for.
Well, Howard E. Butt, who was the founder of it, but they don't use that for obvious reasons.
What's the last name?
Butt. It's either Butt or Butts. I forget which one it was, but clearly that's not great marketing. So now they just say, here, everything's better. But that's not what it stands for.
Oh, very good.
See, this is spin. This is how you do spin. HEB's really good at HEB's a great grocery store. I love shopping there. It's also good at spin. I think that some of our media outlets are having trouble with the whole spin thing. I was looking at something this morning and I saw it and I said, I got to ask Andrew about this. Not so much that it's a spin issue, more like a, what's the word? Maybe just a maturity issue, right? I was watching a clip. And there was a reporter that was, I think, on Air Force One. So this is somebody who's, news organizations paying for that, first off, because it's not cheap. You actually have to pay freight to be on Air Force One. And I know that because Katie Pavlich, when she was working for us, would, we'd have to pay for that. It was great, though. It was well worth it. And
actually, everybody on Air Force One has to be accounted for. There's actually an accountant in the White House. So if some congressman goes with him, it has to be paid for.
Right. Absolutely. It has to be paid for. So this reporter whose organization, I don't know who it was, but their organization is paying for him to be there, was asking Trump about the war, right? Because on day 17, everybody's panicking that we haven't already had the victory parade going through Washington. We're not celebrating VI Day already, right? I mean, we're on day 17 of this thing. It says, well, the Iranian people haven't risen up. What's up with that? What's up with that? What's up with that?
That's what a great observation, Ed. I'd missed that.
Oh my gosh. What's up with asking what's up with that? I mean, I want to be a curmudgeon, although we're going to get into curmudgeonly thing from Thursday because great Andy Rooney moment. We'll get to that in a minute. But honestly, what's up with asking what's up with that? How about just forming a question saying the Iranian people haven't risen up yet? You were hopefully you were hoping that they would do this. Are you concerned about that, or is there a reason for that, or is this plan not working?
What the heck? Oh, God.
Trump's like, well, they don't have weapons,
and 7,000 of them just got killed.
32,000 of them just got killed, 2 months ago, trying to rise up against a fully armed besieged IRGC. So yeah, they're waiting a bit. What's up with that? Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So
Gee,
You
that's
know,
rich. Oh God, that's
I mean,
oh
I get that these questions are at least somewhat extemporaneous, but I mean, I think if I'm a, and I've never been in this position, I've never been in the White House briefing room. Um, Interestingly enough, a couple of people invited me to be there, but I wasn't in Washington D.C., so I never took advantage of it. But I think I'd show up with a couple of questions written down, like Mr.
yeah,
President,
yeah.
Iranian people
Exactly.
have not yet risen up in Tehran. Is there a threshold that you're waiting for? What sequence do you see where this might be a
Yeah,
possibility,
that's right.
and how
What?
far off are you from it? Hey, dude. Hey, dude.
What's what's up with that?
What's up? What's up with that, dude?
Jeez. Oh, oh,
Okay.
that's a great one.
All right.
All
So
right. Well,
rather than
that's the
answer that,
show for today.
exactly. It's also our joke of the week. But no, that's not true. Um, that brings us though to what you wrote on Thursday, or your 5 minute um, uh, uh, Malcolm on the
Commentary.
right thing. As a society, we've forgotten how to wait, and I want to talk about that in terms of the war coverage.
Yeah.
And before we do that, though, I have to do it in my Andy Rooney. I cracked Andrew up with this.
Oh, please, please.
As a
Drum roll.
society, we've forgotten how to wait. Why have we forgotten how to wait? Why aren't we able to wait for things to play out?
Oh, and you've always got a responsive audience with me. Uh,
That's why we keep doing these
What's up with that?
podcasts.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? What? What? I mean, we're on day 17, right? And you've got people, I mean, you've got the New York Times saying, oh, Trump faces stark choices now because the Iranians
Right.
are responding and they're adapting. And it's like, yeah, like everybody else does in war. Um, you know, I went back and looked at a couple of different other operations. I want to get to, as a society, why we've forgotten how to wait. You take a look at the operation that removed Noriega, right? And the
Yeah.
military phase of that took about 4 days, but it took a full 2 weeks to get Noriega out because he hit.
Right.
Um,
You went in the Vatican embassy.
yeah, I went in the embassy and hid out with the papal nuncio for a while until the papal nuncio said, what's
And
up with this?
the troops played some loud, irritating rock music 24 hours a day outside.
If
I
they really wanted to get him out of there, they would have played Afternoon Delight over and over again. But,
Oh, you're on today, Edward. Oh my goodness.
but then I took a look at the at Grenada, right? And Grenada's a walkover, right? It was famously a walkover. It took us 8 days to
Yeah.
to finish that mission. We sent 7,300 troops onto Grenada. We had to fight Canadian troops. They were Canadian, or not Canadian troops, Cuban troops, not Canadian. Sorry, Canada. Cuban troops. That wasn't even a Freudian slip. We had to fight Cuban troops that were on the island, which was the problem. The Cuban troops were there and they were building a massive, runway by which you could have attacked the United States, which is what prompted us to do that. And those were against not exactly world-class, militaries. They were basically, I mean, even the Panama military at the time was kind of, uh, Kmart. I
Yeah.
don't know how to describe it. That wasn't very large, and it didn't pose much of a threat to us. Noriega was the threat that we were trying to eliminate. The same thing's true, by the way, in Venezuela. We just opted to go in, grab Maduro, and get him out rather than do anything extended there. And we could do that because it was easier to do that in Venezuela. But Iran has spent 47 years digging itself in there, arming itself to the teeth. It's got ballistic missiles and drones all over the place. Nobody thought that this was going to be over in 3 days. Nobody, the brain thought this was going to be over in 3 days. We're on day
Yeah.
17, and you've got, and not just media, you've got, Republicans chin stroking this now and going, well, I don't know, price of oil is kind of up. Price of oil's at $100 a barrel, which is not great, but it's hardly outrageous. And it's probably going to come. In fact, it was already coming down today. I don't know how far it came down. I think the price of Brent crude had gotten up to, I think it peaked at 105. And I see that the markets are all in the black today, which tells me that oil probably dropped down a bit. And yeah, Brent crude's at 100 right now. It's dropped down a little bit. Overall, crude oil is down 5% to $93 a barrel. So, it's going in the right direction because Donald Trump isn't freaking out, right?
Yeah.
I just find it really fascinating that the media is rushing to the conclusion that the war is lost, and it's day 17, and we've met all of our objectives, exceeded all of our objectives so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this is another symptom of TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. Anything, a head cold, anything that they can take out on Trump, they will. They look for, what is it? Is it called cognitive dissonance?
Yes.
So if there's anything good, they can't hear it. And it's a collective thing. And even some Trump people are that way. They get worried. Now, to be fair, in the first term, he made a big deal out of never getting us into any foreign entanglements. So the stage or the expectation was set that he didn't like that. And now we've had 2, 3 if you count Gaza. But the expectation was there, and now he's taken a couple of moves, and you can make an argument for each one of them. I mean, a very solid argument. But they're gonna look for trouble anywhere they can. Now, there's one thing to be a watchdog. That is, sir, were you prepared? Are you prepared? How long are you prepared?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, totally fair.
And some people might remember, like you and I, that it took over 5 months for Barack Obama to decide on a troop surge in Afghanistan. 5
Yes,
months.
that's right. Yeah, you're right.
To think about it, to go back and forth, what's good and bad. And then he went to West Point and gave a speech. And unfortunately, I mean, this is how not a commander in chief he was. In the speech, he gave an end date, right? Well, we're going to surge for a year or 18 months, and then we'll be out. Well, if you're an enemy, like we've been fighting in recent wars, guerrilla wars, they don't care how many people they lose. So they'll just keep it going. Just keep it going and wait for them to leave. It took 20 years for us to leave, and we did. It took the Russians only 10 years to leave, and they did, to leave Afghanistan. So you're right. It's just ridiculous, but it's an opportunity. And what would you call it? I guess the market. The market is there to sell clicks that it's taking too long. The war is taking too long. We should have won.
Well, and I agree with that. And so there's TDS that's involved in this. But I think that it speaks to something larger that you were talking about too, which is, I mean, it's
instant gratification. Yeah.
It's an instant gratification thing. It's it's people who may be just so consumed with, I'm not even sure if instant gratification is the right thing. Is that they're just used to such a fast news cycle thing cycling all the time that they just expect the
immediate results. Yeah.
Immediate results. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. They just expect immediate results when it's completely unreasonable, especially in this instance, to do so.
The country, Iran, is almost as big as Alaska. So, it's not a Grenada, folks. It's a big place. And they've had, as you said, almost a half century to get ready for an attack. And actually, Ed, I think we should blame Amazon and FedEx for the expectation that I want my parcel. In fact, can I have it this afternoon, please?
Yeah. I mean, Amazon in certain cases, it's same day delivery, depending on where you live. You can get same day delivery on some of these staples, right? And I mean, I'm kind of amazed by that, frankly. It's like, you know, where
I
I can
know.
also get same day delivery is if I actually walk into the store and just buy it off the shelf.
Well, didn't Amazon buy like Whole Foods, or they bought?
They bought Whole Foods. Yes, they did buy Whole Foods.
And they have places in the airport where you don't need to pay. You just get the item and walk out the door, and it knows who you are. I mean, it's just, yeah. Okay.
So I mean, we have this instant gratification, I think, explains some of this, right? But I mean, I think that we've never been patient when it comes to wars anyway. I mean, we weren't patient in Iraq, but we were patient on our impatience was on a much longer timeline than it is right now. And I think Trump derangement syndrome is part of that. But what I think this is what bothers me about this, is that the issue isn't how soon this is going to be over. The issue is whether the mission is worth the risk and the investment. And that's certainly
what comes next.
Yeah. And what comes next. Those are certainly good discussions. But the idea that you haven't achieved all your objectives by day 17 in a major military conflict with a fully armed and dug in significant nation, and you're one which you can only really engage with naval and aerial forces, is kind of stupid. I'm sorry, it's just stupid to think that by day 17 they're going to back down, or that you know, they're going to collapse. And we've been trying to warn people about this. This probably will collapse the regime over time. As they wipe out the infrastructure of this regime, it will be set up for collapse. And when we're done with that, the Iranian people might be able to push these people out of power. Maybe, maybe not. But the important thing about this mission is that we are going to completely defenestrate Iran of the means to threaten us and their neighbors, regardless of who's in the regime. Yeah, that's the point.
That's the whole point, was to eliminate the ability to make a nuclear weapon and to deliver it anywhere in the world, but specifically us. Remember, World War II lasted over 2,000 days. And the Korean War was, what, 1,200 days? Something like that?
Something like that. It was close to 3 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. But it's part of what I was trying to get at in the commentary on Thursday was we have come to expect things. I was struck. I took, and I mentioned this in the audio, I took my kids some years ago, but years after 2001, the Space Odyssey came out. That had such a great impact on me about machines controlling the future and all that stuff. And so I took my kids to see 2001, and I couldn't sit through it. And I remembered it because the pace was so slow.
Right. Yeah.
What do you mean, Hal? You know,
open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
That's right. Exactly. I'm sorry. And then I saw with my youngest son, who was sometimes watch Bill Nye, the science guy. And that show, I guess it kept kids watching because no image was on for longer than 4 or 5 seconds. Things happening all the time. Yeah. And I guess that made kids and maybe their parents keep watching because, what's coming next? And we've been trained. So TV sound bites when I was in college were like 28 seconds in the news. have a newsmaker talk for 28 seconds, and you could get an idea out or a concept and explain it in that time. Today, it's 8 seconds. I wrote speeches and prepped helped prep politicians for TV interviews, and was telling them you got to get the message out and repeat it in 8 seconds. You've got to get it out, and you got to say the key word 2 or 3 times in the course of a 10-minute interview, and then hoping that the 8 seconds that they use will have that phrase in it. Save America Act, Save America Act. Don't get into all the complications of it. Just say the phrase. And the media, because it's every second now, you can, what time was it? 1:48 or something Eastern time that on the Saturday a week ago, or at the beginning of the war when Trump announced it.
2.5 weeks ago.
Trump announced it, and it was on Truth Social, and I put the tweet in there, or it wasn't a tweet, but a whatever you call it, his 8-minute video or 6 minutes, I forget what it was, and announcing the war. Well, it's just boom. Well, the media has, the young people who were raised on Bill Nye the Science Guy, react that way. And so there's a news story every few minutes, and here's an update, breaking news update. You look online and see what is called breaking news. It's not breaking news at all. But it's got the urgency to it that they want people to click. I get that, but it's not healthy. You expect. I mean, I planted corn last week. Why am I not harvesting it now? Things take time.
You know who I blame for this? Honestly, no. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. Oh, that speech of his. God, I had only 272 words. Trump spoke for what, 2 hours?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I mean, I'm only being semi-facetious about this, because one of the things that I think the reason why his Gettysburg Address resonated is in large part because of its brevity, right? He cut right to the heart of it, and he laid out the foundations of what this meant in 287 words. He had just followed Edward Everett to the podium, who had spoken, I think, for well over an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the oratory.
People, no loudspeakers. So if you weren't close, if you weren't body pressing the guy in front of you, you didn't hear 272 words of the best speech ever.
I mean, there you can find Edward Everett's speech. It's on. I just found it on Voices of Democracy, which is at the I think University of Maryland, and it's a long speech. It is not too. It might be 2,870 words. It's a long speech. Yeah, that was the style back then too. Orators would, expound for a very long period of time, and they spoke loudly and they projected to the back, because you're right, they didn't have microphones back then. You had to speak loudly in order to be heard, and I'm sure Lincoln did too. I'm sure Lincoln understood that much.
Well, and was it the Lincoln Douglas debates? The guy opened up. I don't hold me to these numbers, but this first speaker, they had 7 of these debates. 7 debates for an Illinois Senate seat. Fortunately, Lincoln lost, but they had 7 debates, and the opening was like an hour, and then the response was a half an hour. I mean, and no microphones, folks. These are guys standing up, talking extemporaneously, no text, no teleprompter. Teleprompters didn't come till the 50s, for Pete's sake. Which is if you don't like long speeches, that's teleprompters were the enabling mechanism for that.
Right.
Speaking of teleprompters, I have an anecdote that I think
Okay.
is fascinating. You and I were at the 2008 Republican Convention in St. Paul,
We were indeed.
and Sarah Palin gave her speech. I was good friends with the speechwriter who wrote the speech with her. And he told me how she prepared. She really, really prepared for the speech. Thank goodness for her. Because think about this. Every year or two, I go back and watch her speech because you can't tell. The teleprompter broke. Okay. Here she is, her first major speech as a potential number 2 in the country. And fortunately, she had learned the speech. But as she's looking at the audience and the television cameras going out to millions of people, the teleprompter is showing her words that she's already said. Oh, oh my God. But she knew the speech so well that she could keep going and make sense. Remember lipstick on pigs and all that?
Right.
That she could make sense until the teleprompter caught up. And you can't tell. If you go to YouTube and look up her vice presidential speech. Anyway, in terms of a mental exercise during a speech, it's quite an achievement. And I mentioned Teddy Roosevelt, but that was in the column on Sunday.
Being shot and still delivering his.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt, who became president because an assassin shot William McKinley. He didn't kill him, but they took the bullet out, and in taking the bullet out, they created an infection, and that's what killed McKinley. So Teddy Roosevelt got shot in the chest, should have killed him, but he had a 50-page speech folded twice in his pocket. And he had a metal eyeglass case. Remember those glasses that
the pince-nez glasses? Yeah.
They pinch on your nose. Well, the case was metal, and so that slowed the bullet down. So he got up, and the first line was, "I don't know if you know, but I was just shot." And he went on and gave a 90-minute speech in Milwaukee. I mean, this is, he says, I don't know if you know, but I've just been shot, and it takes more than that to kill a bull moose. God,
yeah.
And when he died, I think it was 7 years later when he died, he still had the bullet in because he wasn't going to let him operate and give him we didn't have penicillin yet. So he wasn't going to let him operate and get killed.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Smart man.
I love that. I love that.
But I mean, just to wrap up on media coverage of the war, in the what's up with this, what's up with that thing, and the
what's up with that?
I mean, I just get the feeling that nobody on that plane. Well, I don't want to say nobody because not everybody participated in that question, but I haven't really seen a lot of evidence that reporters have even done research on military operations. And Selena was writing about this, I think, the Washington Examiner. And part of the problem is that Americans as a whole generally haven't been in the military, right? I mean,
and they haven't studied history.
And I think that's more true of even journalists than Americans in general. And so when we're in these situations, they just don't have the frame of reference to comprehend these matters. And they're not particularly interested in hearing the answers to the questions they themselves ask. I think, and maybe you can expound on this just a little bit before we wrap up. My feeling on this, when I hear these questions coming from reporters, is that they're more interested in having demonstrated they asked the question than whatever the answer is that they get in return, maybe because they just don't trust the answer. And there's some reason for that when you're dealing with government officials, but it's so much better when you're asking questions from a point of well-researched knowledge because you can know how to ask the question and you can put the answer in context and understand whether or not you're getting spun or actually getting an answer.
Yeah, they are, and they don't, as you said, they aren't taught history. They don't learn. They don't make an effort to learn. Remember what Ben Rhodes from Obama's team said? It was so easy to spin reporters because they were so young and naive, and basically
they're all under 27. They were all under 27. Remember he said that?
Yeah. I was under 27. Now this is back in the mid 60s, and I was in a graduate program in Washington, and we were covering Washington news, but for local newspapers around the country. And my one of my newspapers was in Georgia somewhere, and chickens were a big deal. And so when they announced another stage in the Kennedy round of talks, I was there at the news conference, and the U.S. trade representative announced the details. And I got him afterwards, and I was asking him questions about the chickens for my story. Now, this is for a small paper. I was obviously a college kid, but I was taking notes. I was very serious. And he was very seriously answering. And Edwin Dale Jr., the main economics reporter for the New York Times, rushed up and butted in to ask his question. And the trade representative for the federal government turned to him and said, "Mr. Dale, I'm not done here yet." And he answered my question. That was the mid 60s in a dialogue among reporters and government officials. So that's changed. It's a lot more shallow now.
Well, and again, I think you came up, I know you came out of journalism school. We've talked about journalism school, but you came up with still a trade.
I had a lot of practical experience,
right?
And journalism in journalism school was 20% of the curriculum. The rest of it had to be history and politics.
Well, and you had, again, you had practical experience in journalism. You understood how the trade worked, right? And this is a trade,
the old way. Yeah,
right. And I don't think that it's practiced as a trade because I don't think they're really doing reporting anyway. I think they're doing narrative maintenance, basically, these days.
Oh, now that's a good phrase. Narrative maintenance. Oh, I like that. I got to write that down. Narrative maintenance. I got to write that down.
Just write down, when you're writing it down, make sure you put TM next to it. All credit to Ed.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Are we really doing narrative maintenance?
We're both doing Andy Rooney today.
Why are we in so much of a hurry these days?
See? We both do our Andy Rooney. God bless him. May God rest his soul. He was really entertaining. He was a lot of fun. He was basically the best thing there was about 60 Minutes for many years. So yeah, and he was a real newsman. I mean, he was a guy who knew what he was doing. Yeah.
CBS back in those days, that was the gold standard. When I was coming up in journalism, had Eric Severide and Robert Trout and Richard C. Hotlett, Edward Murrow, all those guys. Oh, geez, they were Walter Cronkite. They were legends, and they came out of basically wire service. And then CBS, when they got serious about news, this is back in World War II, they hired these guys. They were real pros. Eric Severide was my idol. He was covering the evacuation of France from the German invasion, fleeing to the harbor, to the port to get to England. And his wife was having a baby at the same time. And he was still filing for CBS News. I think I would have had my wife somewhere else, but anyway, they got through. And Eric Severide, years later, I wrote him a letter. He answered it, and that was my inspiration to become a foreign correspondent. And I looked him up, years later, and he gave me 15 minutes. 1964 in his office in New York City at CBS.
Wow.
God bless him. Yeah. Rest in peace. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
I think that brings us to the
jokes of the day.
Jokes of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so this guy's driving his car, and the cop on the highway, and the cop pulls him over, and officer says, "Why? Geez, you're going so fast. Why are you going so fast?" And the guy says, "I was trying to keep up with traffic." And the officer says, "There is no traffic." And the guy says, "Well, that's how far behind I am." I like that one.
That's a pretty good one. I like that one too.
That's pretty quick. Yeah.
All right. I got a couple for you. Man walks into the toy store and he's got to buy a toy for his daughter, and he knows his daughter really likes Barbie, but he has no clue, right? Has no clue about the whole Barbie thing. So he asks the clerk, he says, "Well, how much is Barbie?" And he says, "Well, it depends on which Barbie you want." And he said, "Well, what are the options?" He says, "Well, we got Barbie goes to the gym for $19.95. Barbie goes to the ball for $19.95. Barbie goes shopping for $19.95. Barbie goes to the beach for $19.95. Barbie goes nightclubbing for $19.95, and divorced Barbie for $265. and the father says, "Wait, why is divorced Barbie $265 when all the others are $20?" And the clerk goes, "Well, divorced Barbie comes with Ken's house, Ken's car, Ken's boat, Ken's furniture."
Oh, Ed.
It's all in the it's jokesoftheday.net. And
that's a great one.
And along the same theme, the last one, a man's walking down the street, right? And all of a sudden he hears this voice in his ear. It says, "Stop, stand still. If you take one more step, a brick will fall and kill you." So he stops quickly. And sure enough, a brick just slams down in front of him, shatters all over the sidewalk. And he's astonished, right? But kind of shaken up, but he starts walking again. He goes down a little bit longer, and he hears the same voice that says, "Stop, stand still. If you take one more step, a car is going to hit you and kill you." So it comes to a halt, and sure enough, this car comes screaming around the corner, just barely misses clipping him, right? And the man goes, "This is amazing. Who are you?" And the voice says, "I'm your guardian angel." And the man says, "Oh yeah? Where were you when I was getting married?"
Okay.
Yeah. Divorced Barbie was the peak. So I get it. I got
another one. I got another one, Ed. I saw it's a little video online. I don't know who did it, but a guy's working at a computer, and his wife comes up to him and says, "Do you realize I haven't spoken a word to you in 2 days? What do you have to say about that?" And the guy says, "Can I have 2 more days?" Hey,
just didn't want to break the streak. That's all. Speaking of which, we rarely break the streak. We weren't able to get the show done last week because I had to change the schedule last minute. But we are going to start a new streak of weekly appearances by Andrew. We've been doing this for 17 years now?
Something like that. Yeah, we're going to do it till we get it right.
We're going to do it till we get it right. That's right.
Why are we doing this every week? Why are we doing this every week?
Who does podcasts for 17 years? What's up with that? I'm qualified to be a White House reporter. What's up with that?
Oh my goodness! Do it because we have so much fun.
That's true.
Never mind an audience.
Yeah, we just have fun with each other. I hope the rest of you are enjoying it as well.
Yeah, right. That's a bonus.
All right, Andrew Malcolm, the Prince of Twitter, the Regent of RedState.com, and the Vice President of Diet Coke. Until next week.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Ed. You're a riot.